notion that my White House would purposely release classified national security information is offensive.
He didn't say they didn't do it, though. He just said it's offensive. 5:34. Jake Hartford here on 89 WLS Awake with Jake. I'll be here until 8 o'clock. I'm laughing, but it's a serious matter. But, I understand politics. I grew up in Chicago. I know politics, but I got to tell you, politics was never like it is now. Everything has become politics now. I mean, you wonder why Social Security is going under, because if you just start talking about it, they call it the third rail for a reason. Because if you just start talking about it, you'll get demonized for trying to kill old people, take away their retirement. And hey, by the way, speaking of that, last Sunday in the Sun-Times, the bright one, I don't even know if it's still the bright one anymore, there was a column about, it was with Joe Walsh. Congressman Joe Walsh had made some comments about the constituency of the Democratic Party. And, I don't care about that. But in this story, they were quoting the Washington Post, some blog or something. And they lumped in all these entitlement programs that they said were taxpayer-funded handouts or whatever. And they had Social Security in there. And Social Security is paid for by people's out of their paychecks. If you're in the, I'm not sure how that works with the government jobs anymore, because it used to be they never paid into Social Security, and I think that may have changed somewhat. But if you have a job, you're flipping hamburgers at a Wendy's, or selling coffee at Starbucks, or you're driving a truck for Averett, or working for the White Sox in the ticket office, any of those jobs, anybody's jobs like that, you pay Social Security out of your check. And that's one of the things that we have. They lowered the rate this year, so you'd have more money in your pocket. But eventually, that's got to go back in, so when you retire, you get money. And your employer also puts money in for you into an account, so it'll be there when you retire. That's not a handout. And it doesn't matter how poor you are or how rich you are. If you worked and paid into the fund, you get Social Security. You're entitled to that. That's no government handout. That's not the taxpayers paying for your retirement. You put into that. You contributed to that. That's no whatever. But anyway, getting back to the politics and stuff, all this stuff gets politicized. And it seemed like this administration has been one long re-election campaign from the first day. I was thinking this morning on the drive in, this president has never had a budget. He has never passed a budget. Will he be the first president who never passed a budget in history? The budget he signed when he first took office was the Bush budget. And you can't blame I know that you like to blame the Republicans for everything, but the Democrats control the Senate, and then the budgets that he has tried to submit, what did they go down in the Senate, like 97-0? But everything is politics, and getting back to the story about the how we did the cyber attacks in Iran and stuff like that, that's giving away our intelligence, the way we gather intelligence. And there's people in Washington on the different intelligence committees who are very unhappy. And they're both Republican and Democrat. Dianne Feinstein, senator out of California, who is about as liberal as you can get, she is really PO'd. Someone should go to jail. Because if you read the articles, they're very complimentary to the president, his decisive leadership, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Did he leak the story to the New York Times? Because here's what it's come down to. Either he's wrong when he said, his people had nothing to do with it, or the New York Times is wrong. And these were lengthy articles. And not just one subject, multiple subjects. But as you, when you think about it, what he's doing, it had to be somebody in the room, because in the articles they quote officials and what the president said, and he picked up the phone and then he did this, and it wasn't the White House cook who was in the room. There were high level people. Remember on the anniversary of killing Osama bin Laden? I forget who was it. Was it former Defense Secretary Gates, or I forget? It was a really high ranking person who said when they got Osama bin Laden, everybody that was in that room, you remember the photo, took an oath that they weren't going to talk about it for at least a week. And he said within 48 hours, there were already leaks out about what happened. So you look at this stuff, and if it wasn't somebody from the White House trying to enhance the president's image, then it has to be someone in the Intelligence Committee. At least that's where the fingers are being pointed. And I don't think they would do that. There's no upside for them to make the president look good in all these things and give away the secrets and put people's lives at risk. And it puts our lives at risk, because if the people, the countries that work with us, quit working with us because they don't trust us, because we can't keep a damn secret, you know what's going to happen? It's going to be another 9/11. And that's how we got 9/11. I don't know. That's my serious thing for this morning. But listen to the president again. Listen, is this almost like when Clinton says, remember, it depends what the meaning of it is? Listen to what the president says. Does it sound like he's... did it sound, when you heard that, did it sound like he was denying that they did it? Listen closely.
The notion that my White House would purposely release classified national security information is offensive.
He didn't say they didn't do it. Now, it's also possible that the president, with the stroke of a pen, just unclassified that stuff, so it wouldn't be classified information they were releasing. You want to be real. You want to be real cynical. That's just. See, he doesn't really deny it. He doesn't really deny it, but it's election year. It's been an election year for 3.5 years now. But they're playing politics with our lives. Think about that. Anyway, what other stuff are we going to get to today? Here's an interesting story. The same old story. Boy meets girl. Boy falls for girl. Boy shows up at girl's home. Boy hits girl in the back of the head with a soy sauce bottle. Boy gets stabbed by girl. Boy tries to stab girl with a screwdriver. Yeah, it's love gone wrong. Jeez. There's people just having fun. And here's a interesting story. This is the graduation time of a year. People are graduating college, high school and stuff. Cincinnati. Now, when our two kids graduated, our younger son graduated last year from high school, and the other one a few years before that. They announced, when the names are called, do not cheer, because they want everybody to hear their name. But there's so many kids, and they just kind of ramble through the names anyway. And when they say the name, you really can't put the name to the kid, because the kids are all dressed alike in those gowns. So people cheer. It's normal. I was on my knees thanking God, kissing the ground. He did it. He's done it. But you know what? People do it. And some people cheer louder than others. And I understand it's kind of whatever. Well, this story out of Cincinnati, this kid, they announced his name, and his family really got loud in their cheering. So the school got upset, as schools do, and they're not giving the kid his diploma. Technically, he's a graduate, but they're withholding the diploma until, get this, either he or members of his family have to do 20 hours of community service. What is that? Just because somebody cheered? I wish I knew if there's some graduation somewhere today, I would go to it and just cheer like crazy for some kid and get the family in trouble. And how do they do that? How do they determine what's too loud? What is the acceptable boisterous level? The boisterous sound level, or as I like to shorten it to, the BS level. What is it? What's acceptable? How do they determine what goes over the line and gets you 20 days of communities or 20 hours of community service versus not having to do anything? They jump from nothing to 20 hours. How do they figure that out? I would think, you know what? The kids graduate, the parents are happy. Let them cheer and just move on to the next. Just go right down the line. Because if the parents are cheering and the way they call the names, they're cheering like for a number of kids. See, that's the way this show is. People say, what is it about the Awake with Jake show? See, we can go in the space of a few minutes from being attacked by our terrorist enemies around the world to a woman getting in trouble with the soy sauce bottle, the kids getting 20 hours of community service after they graduate. And by the way, there's a headline in the Chicago Sun-Times this morning, the CPS, Chicago Public Schools, graduation rates for 5-year students are at a all-time high. See, that's freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. What's the fifth thing? What is the fifth? It's freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. What's the fifth year? What do they call that? Does anybody know? Rick in Big Rock. Hey, Rick. Welcome to 89 WLS, Rick.
Thank you. Good morning. How are you?
What's on your mind?
Well, you know what? I'm a happy guy. I think the world's supposed to be happy. And it's funny how it seems like we want to keep everybody from not being happy. So I wondered, what if you went to graduations and you booed for the kids that were the dummies that they pushed through and gave them the diploma just to get them out? Would you get in trouble for that? Or would they like that because you're down and out, you know?
You know what? Now you go the other way. You boo the kids who had like the perfect attendance and the perfect grade average because they just made the other kids feel bad by being perfect.
That, you know what? That probably fits better because that would go in, let's not keep score, let's, keep everybody equal. Nobody should achieve better than another. So, anyways, I just thought it was kind of funny when I heard you say that because we don't promote happy, we don't promote, oh, this is great, and I come from the peace and love generation, and we need that back.
Well, hey, anytime you get a little peace and a little love, that's a good time for everybody.
Both together, man. Have a great day.
Thanks, Rick.
Peace.
Phil in Palatine. Phil, you're on 89 WLS.
Yeah, this thing with the parents that have to do the community service because their kids are in trouble. When I was in high school, just before graduation, there was always this yearly senior ditch, not ditch day, but ditch of an assembly, and everybody was all into it. I could care less, but I went along with it, so I ditched the assembly. Well, after that, everybody had to go to detention, or they would not be able to go to graduation ceremonies. Well, I was one of the few that held out and said, well, I'm not going to go to the detention. What was the ditch day for the assembly? Up until the hour before the graduation ceremony, I was threatened with not getting my diploma. And I was like, oh, what are you talking about? I got my diploma. I cannot stand protests. Protests are the craziest thing in the world. If you have enough energy and conviction to protest, I think you should be doing something else.
Well, did you ever get your diploma?
Oh yeah, I got it. And as I walked across the stage, you know how you got the school board members up there. The guy that was my teacher, that was threatening me, calling my parents, telling me I wouldn't graduate, just looked at me, smiled, and gave me a wink.
Wow. See what? So we graduated. We started a rumor that the person handing out the diplomas had some sort of sexually transmittable disease on his hand. Yeah, it was that was our idea of a good time.
But I love that comment by Governor Walker that you guys have been looping on your station, where he said, I'm paraphrasing his quote, but he said to the effect of, you don't need a bullhorn, you don't need a protest sign, you just need to vote and have your voice heard. And that's kind of what I feel about protests. There's nothing wrong with protests, but a lot of people protest, and it's like, well, where are your convictions? Where's your energy and your passions? Is it in actually doing something?
Yeah, but you know what? That's how the Tea Party started, with protests. People, the government they were just ignoring the people, and they weren't just Republicans. They were Democrats who were being ignored. They were libertarians being ignored, independents being ignored, and that's where that came from. Because the politicians were saying, "Hey, we don't need to listen to you."
No, true. It's like, I'm not down on the protest. I'm just down on people that just sort of just run out, with no mindset about what their protest or basically what their organization is about, what their goal is. So. All
right, take care, Phil.
All right, have a good day. Thanks.
5:50. Back after this in 89 WS.